Hello and welcome. So I'm going to present our work Losing Its Touch, Understanding User Perception of Multimodal Interaction and Smart Assistants. My name is Margarita and I'm going to present this work also on behalf of my colleagues Veronika Kraus, Dennis Lavo and Gunnar Stevens. We are all part of the research group Verbraucherinformatik and are researching at the University of Siegen and Institute for Verbraucherinformatik. Some of you, or many of you, might already have experience with Alexa as an IPA, either embedded on a standalone device or other IPAs embedded on your smartphone. And similar to super apps, IPAs are evolving from a set of main functions to an expansions by third-party applications. In Amazon's case, this is called skills, and for Google Assistants, they usually called actions. Nonetheless, as prior research shows, there are still many NLP issues, and due to high expectations of speech as a natural language modality, there's much disappointment from side of the users. And this leads to only a limited use or even a non-use of the scope of functions. So this brings us to our first question. What are users' expectations and mental models towards the orchestration of skills regarding its operability and functionality? Further, we wanted to investigate how multimodality might be a solution to support voice-based problems and enhance the experience, as we had already in 2004 described that the advantages of multimodal applications could improve usability and increase transparency, flexibility, and efficiency. But besides the work on mobile IPAs and chatbots, it is still unclear how the potential of multi-componental experience and multimodal experience might be realized by designers and appropriated by users so far. So our second question was, how does a multimodal interface design support users' multi-componental experience and interaction? Therefore, we did an observatory study conducted in a laboratory setting to really observe and listen to the interactions between users and the Echo Show, as the Echo Show has the possibility also to visualize some of the functions and maybe to help users better interact. Our sample was resembling the demographic distribution of Germany in 2019, and we had 20 participants, equal in genders, and each session lasted for 60 minutes on average. Afterwards, we thematically analyzed and iteratively coded all our results. As you see, the participants completed each 10 tasks that were distributed upon 5 selected skills. The Amazon skill was somehow always in the middle, I would say, as Alexa is the main orchestrator of all skills, and sometimes some of the Amazon own skills were triggered. And also, as you see, there are brand-specific skills, and some of the modalities and most of the skills own the modality of both visual and vocal interface, but one skill was a voice only. So based on our lens of IPAs as an orchestrator of skills, we want now to focus on our new observations and what features designers of IPAs and skills could learn by that. Based on our insights, we derived 4 design applications that I'm going to present now. So towards a voice-first design approach for skills was based on that participants really tried past interaction patterns they learned from the original source of application or website. That means the structures, the signifiers they were familiar with from for example, chefkoch.de as recipe website. Providers with atomic data in unified recipe structures can easily reuse them and adapt them to a device like Echo Show, whereas user-generated content was much more difficult since it has to be explicitly cleaned and formatted for those devices. And we assume that power users of distinct services or who have a strong connection to the brand experience will need longer to adapt to voice-first services. Therefore, we really have to rethink the content and functions from previous digital services as components. So the same as with mobile-first design, we have to rethink how this fits on the screen and how the interaction is used to. And in this case, we have also to be aware of that the IPA is responsible to guide users through the infrastructure and orchestrate between all components. Further, most participants were really curious about the potential of having more advanced features, really supporting their daily routines and exceed the functions they already know from their voice-only devices such as Echo Dot. Therefore, skills are understood as an inherent part of Alexa and are not really recognized as third-party add-ons, although, of course, some participants encountered some of those add-ons already with the Echo Dot. The skill scope was compared to daily routines and also offline experiences. That means like browsing through promotions or creating shopping lists. This was always the match in a sense of efficiency and convenience. So super apps already showed that it's possible to exceed the capabilities in an integrated solution by offering more skills and components that can interact together. So they really have to be based on specific use cases, routines, contexts that are familiar to the users, and a clear communication of the skill scope, what is possible and what not, and ensure the interoperability of all components to really match users' expectations, practices, and preferences. Switching context was a massive issue for all of our participants. So it's really important to differentiate between the global, agent-wide, and local skill-wide contextual hierarchy. Because this was invisible, the participants were really insecure about activating and switching skills, also activated unexpected skills, like the aroma designer, no one heard before of it. And also participants had to familiarize themselves with English words like skills, or did not recognize that some vocabulary was chosen to trigger specific functions. And also skill names were sometimes hard to access because of the use of brand names or spelling out the website name. So one solution might also be to support users to customize their IPA and also just to simplify the access to settings, because some of the participants tried to find out the settings on the device, but that did not think of using the smartphone to do so. And also we have to ensure a conceptual and infrastructural consistency to reduce the risks to mix up commands and to signify the position of the user. Our last implication concerns the appropriateness of modalities. So most of the participants were really critical of the relevance of the information presented on the device, since they didn't want to see some mood pictures, but really wanted to have shown the information they need to browse recipes or to use the respected skills. This resulted in interactions that were perceived as bothersome, and they criticized the lack of the visual feedback channel. Also, some of the visual presentations sometimes violated the basic design principles for graphical user interfaces, and all in all, this strengthened the burden of interpretations and establishing mutual understanding, since users really had to make an effort to understand what the device was telling them. So in future designs, modalities require respective signifiers to allow for intuitive interaction. The same goes for visual as auditive signifiers. And all in all, the design has this great potential to compensate for the lack of an IPA's intelligence, to interpret all the information right by having the right dialogues, the visual support, trying to communicate emotions with the channels that we have. Our findings show that known interaction issues with IPAs, like NLP issues, still exist, but also that conceptual issues emerge from a range of skills which lack the appropriate data models and do not make proper use of the additional screen to interact with or depict information. So to ensure this multi-componental and multimodal experience, we have to balance all elements to each other, and in general, all participants expected Alexa to orchestrate all skills and support the activities, as well as switching between skills. Thank you very much for listening and watching, and if you're interested in more details, take a deeper look into the paper, or if you have any questions, just let me know. I am happy to discuss, and I hope you found some interesting insights that you can use in your further research.